I think they're just troublemakers.
You think they're
I'm
troublemakers?
serious. We don't like it. It ruins the industry reputation.
It ruins the I was going to, that's a pretty tall order to ruin the reputation of the Illuminati, but I guess they're going to work on it. Can you elaborate, caller?
Yeah, look, we've got a simple rule. If you fellas will just tell the truth, don't embellish, just tell the truth, and don't compromise anyone's privacy, their addresses, their families. You're as safe as if you're in a bank, vault full of gold.
So David hasn't listed any addresses or any of that stuff.
No, I mean, part 2, what's going to be released tonight, which I've already had the guys reviewing the document and making sure that they have no objections. They actually wrote me. I mean, I have an email here, and I'm going to read it. Let's see if I can find it. He said, "Dear David, my only suggestions are to remove the names of blank, blank, and remove the part where you mention names of people who have been talking to blank. These people
I just said that, didn't I?
Yes, this is what he's saying. He says, these people have to live with the very people who are the ones we are fighting, and I think it is a breach of confidence to leak their names. More than that, a number which now includes name, name, and name are now feeding us information from directly inside the highest levels of the cabal. We should not expose them as it would negate their usefulness to us. Like us, they want change, but they have to work with those whom we are fighting. The only other thing I request..."
David, my boy, that's all fine. I'm not a good numbers man with all of this sort of thing. But let me tell you this, and all your listeners can know. There's many more tens of millions of tons of fine precious metals around the place than you could ever imagine. What you're talking about is a sand bucket full of nonsense. It doesn't matter. It's little. It's unimportant. And all those little fiddles that are so far down the ladder, they're all buzzing around like ants trying to fight the breadcrumbs that fall off the table.
Okay, so what the caller is saying, if I understand, caller, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, you're basically saying that the threats are coming from a lower level. Isn't that right?
You're a bunch of fools as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, so it is important to know that we're talking about different levels. And by the way, a PDF has now been created of your article by Tommy Hansen. It is going to be mounted on our forum, where people can go to CamelotForum.com. I assume that Tommy, who is listening, will start a thread for this radio show and for this situation, where people can post and all kinds of things can be said and whatever. But we will allow David to monitor that thread as well and put the PDF there so that people can have access to downloading it as they need to. But basically, to get back to the caller, so caller, what you're saying is that the gold is plentiful, that the people who are actually making threats regarding certain gold are kind of off base in a sense.
Pretty much so. These little offshoots and these little cells that grow independently, they're all concerning at times. But if they become too noticeable for us, we'll go and have a talk to them. So they should be mindful about who they threaten. You've heard about the little fish that eats the little fish and then the shark comes along and eats the bigger fish. Well, they might be a tasty little meal for us.
Okay. Well, this kind of thing...
And I'm not in your public relations department. I'm sorry, ma'am. I'm not in your public relations department. I don't have to talk softly or gently or say the right sort of things. I mean, I'm accepting the call because of a mutual friend.
Certainly. Well, we want to thank you for that. I think that the callers I think that the listeners, whoever is out there who is monitoring this radio show, will be well aware that we've kind of brought in the big guns, so to speak, on our side. There are some people out there, wouldn't you say, caller, who consider David Wilcock to be family. Wouldn't you put it that way?
Well, let me say this, as far as I'm advised. If anyone bothers this lad or a few of the others that are around trying to tell the messages that they're telling, we'll be heartily pissed off. And it won't be one or two that'll have a headache. I can assure you countries will have headaches. And the people out there who are listening will know what I'm talking about. We don't deal in ones and twos.
Okay.
We deal in whole societies.
Okay. Well, you know, I don't want to encourage too much of this kind of talk, but I do want to.
Ma'am, I'm sorry. You're talking about the things at the sharp end of the business. There's none of this funny, waffy, soffy stuff that you guys all go on about. We're very serious. Nobody is to be interfered with unless they do their own things, as long as they don't break the rules, which are simple. Tell the truth and don't compromise any of the other little people's privacy. Simple as that. Not too hard to follow, eh?
So, David, you know, you should rest assured where you are. And I just want to say, from you know, I am in your neighborhood. You know, I'm basically here if you need me in any way, shape, or form, as you know, and I can be there very, very shortly if necessary. And you are also welcome in my home at any time.
Yeah,
you and your loved ones are welcome in my home.
Thank you.
And David, Midway, I'm sorry to interrupt, ma'am, but I'll be up having some snow skiing and meeting some of those lovely friends of mine in Asia. We're going to have a lovely get-together in about a week. So I'll be talking about you to make sure I know you're all right. And the leaders of these countries will also be real interested to know that you're all right and you're freely publishing whatever you want, so long as it's the truth. We'll be very upset if we don't see all your publications. I want you to send everything out. Everything you can think of, my boy. Put it all out there. A lot.
Okay. Honestly, Kerry, I was going to flee. I was going to get in my car.
Go and have a lovely dinner. I'll bet you're one of these fellas that likes dining in around Los Angeles, somewhere around the beach. Go and do that.
Okay.
You go and do that, and if you got any doubts, put 20 or 30 little drives, those little thumb drives. Put 20 to the friends you trust, put another 20 around the world that's people you don't even know, and give them to someone to dish out to everyone. And that way you'll fuck them all.
That's already been
Good.
done. Thank you for the suggestion.
That's right. Well, you get them all, because we don't need any of that stuff.
You didn't hear this, but I already have given instructions to all Wilcock file holders, including the fact that you will be getting an update very shortly with new information. Do not release the information unless you are authorized to, which will be the code phrases that I gave you that will appear in my article.
Oh, excellent. You do that for all of them. Understand that we don't need any of that. We don't need to investigate. We have ways and means of knowing what's in everyone's information, everyone's computer. We don't need a thing. We do it in a different way. We need no physical, material requirements at all. No machinery as you understand it.
Yeah, I mean, this was my form of backup, so...
You do that because the people that are bothering you, if in fact these are even real people and not nonsense holders, they're nothing. They don't exist. They're not worth a piece of used tissue paper.
Well, this phone call I got was serious as a heart attack, but I can tell that you are too. And
David, we're the sorts of folk that don't follow you after the heart attack when you've died, son. We'll be there on the other side to bother you again.
Yeah. Okay.
So be assured we can bother them just as effectively after their death of their body. And don't talk about torture in this life. Talk about torture in lives that go for thousands of generations.
Well, I appreciate that. You
understand what I'm saying. You understand the depths of what we're talking about.
I do.
And this phone call's coming from so far beyond the never, you could never appreciate it.
Okay. Well, caller, thank you so much. What I would like to do is, if you don't mind, steer it back around to sort of the nuts and bolts of what the information is about and how you can contribute here. David, as far as the fact that the gold is here, it's being taken off world. It's very plentiful here on Earth. It's very attractive to many of the visitors from off world, as we know. And can you address why the focus on the gold at this time with this particular group? Do you know why they're so fixated?
You're talking about this idea of gold being taken off planet?
No, I'm asking the anonymous caller if he knows why this particular group that's threatening you is so fixated on certain gold.
Kerry, I can tell you why, and then he can weigh in here. But
all right.
What if I don't want to say that. Let's just say that the scope of change. I did deliberately put myself at the tip of the spear. What's going to be happening as a result of this lawsuit getting public, and why it's so important that people spread the word, is that there are some people who have been doing a great deal of harm. There's a lot more people of whom Anonymous represents that group, in which, although he's talking in a way that probably is scaring the living crap out of most of the listeners, there's a greater number of people who do not wish to do harm and who are very pissed off about the fact that this very small number of people is making everybody in government, everybody who works for the military, everybody in a corporation, everybody who's in a finance company, making them look terrible. There's a small number of people who are causing the trouble. This lawsuit is intended to stop them from being able to do what they're doing. That's why I was willing to put my ass on the line by getting it out there, because what happens after we get rid of these folks, and I'm not saying kill them, I'm just saying give them a fair trial, and I don't even think they should receive the death penalty, and some of them who are key involved people can plead for amnesty. But that's what we're looking at here. We're looking at a geopolitical change of massive proportions which will unleash an incredible wave of prosperity for the planet. When this economic system is changed, the average person's prosperity will dramatically increase, and this is what we need to do. We need to do this in order to get disclosure. We need to do this in order to reconnect with our galactic family, and we need to do this to inherit the golden age that has been promised to us in so many different ancient prophecies.
Okay, thank you, David. Caller Anonymous, can you address what David has just said? Because I think you have a different point of view on that. Are you willing to say anything along those lines?
Oh, not too much. He's got some lovely ideals, and we all hope it works out that way. It's hard. When you make an omelette, sometimes you've got to break a few eggs. But he's right about one thing. It doesn't matter what country you're in, where you're coming from. 99% of all the people in public office, all the people, all the folk that work in the civil service are genuine, caring bods. They really are lovely people. And we care for those folks. We want to see all the families happy. But it doesn't take too many rotten eggs or rotten apples to spoil a barrel or a dozen or 2 dozen eggs. There's always one that smells and causes the rot to set in. It's a problem.
Okay. Caller, are you willing to address the situation with the bankers that's going on in Switzerland at all? Are you interested in talking about what's going on with the money around the world and tracing it? We're going to have to come right back after this break. Thank you so much for listening. This is Carrie Cassidy, Project Camelot, with David Wilcock, Maxine Taylor, and Anonymous.